it really isn't that cool to produce video. You don't see the founders of Dropbox, Airbnb. You never saw Steve Jobs even tweeting much. And I think you're one of the few people that's really come from that world and really got content. And I'm wondering what was the impetus for that, and what are the benefits that you're seeing from this? Are you looking to monetize? Are you looking to build a personal brand, like as an angel investor? Like what's the end game?
Cool. Can you guys all do me a favor? I've seen somebody just on stage once. Can we all? I want us to. It's called spirit fingers. We're gonna clap and say, what does he do? Yeah, thanks, Clay. Clap and then go like this. All right, seriously, you guys gotta play along. We're gonna play along. Spirit fingers. We're gonna give it to Clay. All right. So 1, 2, 3. Thanks, Clay. Thanks, Clay. Woo! Figure if I do that for him and everybody else, the lineup's just gonna go through the doors. You know, initially it was really to just give back and share. You know, it's kind of why I've always tweeted and kind of blogged and did that. And I mean, selfishly, it was to help my companies get more exposure. My last company was called Clarity, so it was a marketplace for entrepreneurs. So the more I spoke, the more I talked, it was really about customers. What happened was probably July, so I don't know, you know, a few months ago, was I was doing all these videos and building my email list, and like, this is how ghetto my approach is. My email comes from dan.martell@gmail.com. Like, it's not even like my domain. Like, and everybody's like, hey, do you know Gmail says it's a phishing alert? I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So like, people would reply to me all the time. And in July, I just realized I had so many people asking me for advice and wanting me involved in their business. I decided, again, time is, like, if you haven't caught that, time is my most precious resource. And that's what I didn't want to do, start another company. I really wanted to be present for my kids and kind of be active for them. So I launched a group coaching program. So that's how I monetize it today. Initially, that wasn't the plan. And really, I think when I talked to a lot of folks that just started creating content, like last night, Pat and I were talking about SPI, and he has never launched a product on SPI. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, he's just really, truly for free and for the content. But I also had to ask myself, am I really serving and having the impact that I wanted to have? Like, it's one thing about producing content and having that out there for the world, but if I can jump on a call or webinar every 2 weeks and really go deep with a few entrepreneurs over the next 6 months, that might actually be a deeper level of legacy. And it turns out it teaches me a lot about the kind of content that I'm gonna produce on the video. So originally there was no plan other than to give back, and I nerded out on all the Facebook ad stuff, and then now it's really about building a broader audience of students that can go out there and create software to change the world. Because I think I feel so lucky that, you know, entrepreneurship saved my life, but I could have easily become like a botanist, right? But I got introduced to computers, and we all know, like, the scale of software is just remarkable. I mean, we live in this world where tomorrow, if your idea is worthy, you can get in front of 1 billion people. That didn't exist, and that's why I get excited working with the students that I have. So thanks for the question, Clay.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
Cheers.
So my question is, if you had to do it over, what would you do, like in all of your pre-existing businesses, what's the one thing that you learned with each one?
Yeah, your name is?
Chris.
Okay, don't move, Chris. We're gonna, okay, I figured it out. It's Shazam, okay? You go, Shazam. All right? Chris, one side. 1, 2, 3. Shazam! Woo! That's fun. The one thing that I've learned over and over, I think Ryan talked a bit about it this morning, was test and fail in smaller iterations. When I look, like, I say, you know, what I hate, why I told you guys my story growing up, is because I don't like going up and doing what's called success theater, right? Oh, I'm so smart, look at all the stuff I've done, and ta-da. I don't really teach you guys all the crap that I went through. And my first 2 companies were complete failures. So started, you know, 17, that, you know, 2 years later that company died, started again, and I just, you know, determined I was going to eventually, my brother asked me, he's like, why are you doing this again? And I was just like, I don't think I can work for anybody else. Like, I don't have an option. And what I learned that eventually started to work, and what I teach my students and really on my YouTube channel, is just failures are experiments that ran too long. Okay, so think about that. When we talk about lean startup, they talk about the idea of experimenting. To me, nothing's a failure if you started with the hypothesis of this is what it should generate or The outcome should be run the experiment, and if it works, great, continue, or if it doesn't, stop. So that's why I think about it. It's experiments that ran too long. So the big thing would be that, but I guess the more important one that could probably land with a lot more people in the audience, Chris, is when I stopped chasing the money and started chasing the problem that I had, the wrong I wanted to right? When I started that, the third company was a wrong in the market that I was pissed off about that I wanted to solve. And that trend has continued with every company, and it's what I do today, right? When somebody asked me earlier, like, well, who's your audience for YouTube videos? It's everybody that got told no of all the 1,500 accelerators around the world. Who are they to decide if they should get access to that content, that information? That was the wrong that I'm writing every day when I get in the studio and publish my videos. So I think that one, if you start with that base and that foundation starting your company, it's going to allow you to have that determination, passion, and why to get through those days that we all get as entrepreneurs. Thanks for that question, Chris.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Nisha, and I am kind of pissed off about the situation in the foster care system. So 1 in 4 of those who age out end up homeless. So what advice would you have for me? Because I'm having trouble translate my anger into action. So I would love to hear what you have to say about that.
All right, thanks for the question. Everybody, ready with me? 1, 2, 3. Shazam! Great question, Nisha. What I would do, and it's kind of my approach to building companies, is just start with one foster kid, right? Start with one customer. Start with, I think sometimes because our vision, the problem is so big and we're so angry, we go, I'm gonna fix this at the biggest level possible, but it's paralyzing because you're like, the next morning, I call it uninformed optimism, right? You don't know any better, and you're like, oh yeah, and then we can do this, and you're like maybe drinking with your buddies, and you're like, oh yeah, and then after we'll do this, and it's like awesome, and everything would just work. And then the next morning you wake up and you're like, ooh, that would be hard. It's called informed pessimism, usually what happens. So you switch. And my philosophy is, if I just write down today, Nisha, if you just wrote down today, what's the thing I can do this week to just start righting that wrong? And get that snowball going. It's funny how people say the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. It truly is that. Have the vision. Know that you want to solve this for the world, and if you never accomplish it, who cares? It was worth the journey. But start today with the first step. And it's surprising once you get going and the momentum builds, how much you can get done in 3 years, 5 years, and a decade. I've built 3 companies in 10 years. And it blows my mind just the amount of the compound effect that gets going once you start going. Thanks for that, Nisha.